My name is Tracy Beekman. I'm 30 years old. I'm the oldest child, the designated driver, the one who remembers everyone's allergies and shoe sizes, the one who keeps receipts and still somehow gets blamed when something goes wrong. In my family, they say I'm good with money. That's my mother's code for you'll pay and you won't make it awkward. I don't live a flashy life. I rent a narrow apartment above a pastry shop that smells like burnt sugar at night and yeast in the morning. I run after dark with a headlamp because the sidewalks are quieter then. I pack my lunches, label my envelopes, and keep my finances neat because chaos has always cost me more than it costs other people. My younger brother, Evan, is 27 and effortless. He's funny at parties, posts gym selfies with captions about discipline, and somehow always needs gas money around the 28th of the month. My parents love him loudly, without doubt, the way people love the idea of themselves. Growing up, I watched them celebrate him for trying and critique me for finishing. When I earned a scholarship, my mom said, "Don't get cocky." When Evan dropped a class, Dad said, "College is about finding yourself." When Dad dented my car backing out of the driveway, he said I should have parked better. When Evan scraped his leased SUV, everyone signed a sympathy card. It wasn't cruelty, it was calibration. 1,000 small cuts that teach you exactly how much you're worth. I learned to say it's fine. I learned to show up early and leave late. I learned to smooth edges and pay quietly. The one time I didn't, when I refused to spot Evan just until Friday, my mom used that low voice meant to land soft and sting later. "We raised you to be generous." I heard the second sentence she didn't say. "We raised you to be useful." This spring, my parents decided to throw themselves a 35th anniversary party. The announcement arrived wrapped in nostalgia and obligation. "We deserve something elegant," Mom texted. "Classy, but not pretentious." Dad followed with, translation, lavish. Unspoken addendum, on your card. I volunteered early. That's safer than being volunteered later. I built spreadsheets. I called venues. I compared per-head costs and corkage fees like I was negotiating peace. I booked a tasting at a quiet, beautiful place downtown. Warm wood, soft lighting, a chef who did magic with ordinary vegetables. I pictured a long table, gentle music, people actually hearing each other talk. The day of the tasting, I picked them up. Dad changed the radio station without asking. Mom adjusted my collar like I was late for picture day. Evan slid into the back seat, wearing sunglasses indoors, and said, "You're the best, Tracy," which is what he says when he wants something. At the restaurant, the manager greeted us by name. Dishes arrived like small, polite miracles. I watched my mom's face, waiting for delight. I got the head tilt instead. She cut a scallop in half and sighed. "Tracy, we're too good for your cheap restaurant." The word cheap lodged in my throat. "It's not cheap," I said. "It's fine," she replied. "But we're celebrating a marriage, not clocking out from a cubicle." Dad didn't look up from the menu. "Double the budget and maybe we'll come." Evan snorted and reached for more bread. Facts. I tried to joke. "So if I quadruple it, do I get a handshake?" No one laughed. I felt the old instinct kick in, the one where I fix everything quickly so we can all pretend the moment never happened. But for some reason, I didn't jump. I sat there and let the silence press down until my pulse slowed. "You're absolutely right," I said. Mom smiled, satisfied, like she'd trained me for this response. The manager came back to ask about dessert options. Mom switched on the bright kindness she saves for strangers. I watched it happen, the flip between public grace and private extraction, and the little ache that's lived in me since childhood stood up and took a step forward. I didn't argue. I didn't explain budgets or deposits or how long it took to get on the chef's calendar. I let the night finish. I drove everyone home. Mom patted my cheek in the driveway like I'd learned my lesson. When my apartment door closed behind me, the quiet felt heavier than usual. I stacked the tasting notes on my counter, smoothed the corners of the paper, and pictured my mother's face when she said, "We're too good." Then I pictured what would happen if, for once, I believed her, really believed her, and acted like it. This didn't start with restaurants. It started with birthday parties where Evan's cake had sparklers and mine had a candle that wouldn't light. It started with my 8th grade science ribbon being cute and Evan's JV bench warming being commitment. Same outcomes, different stories. By 22, I paid for 2 of Evan's online classes because the school messed up his aid. At 24, I covered a tow truck because his card glitched. At 26, I co-signed a lease and swallowed late fees like vitamins. Every time came with promises. Friday, sis. Next week for sure. I'll Venmo you tonight. He Venmoed me a pizza emoji once. It wasn't funny. Mom frames it as family loyalty. We share, she says, which always means I distribute. Dad frames it as respect. An adult handles their business, which somehow translates to me handling everyone else's. The math is obvious. The language they use to fog it up is the art. By 28, I had savings. Not because I made a lot, but because I didn't go out. I brought lunch from home. I wore my sneakers until the tread was just a rumor. When I bought a used car outright, Mom said, "So practical," then asked if I could cover Evan's new tires. When I said no, she looked at me like I'd insulted her values. The anniversary plan came wrapped in the same soft pressure. 35 years isn't nothing, Dad said. We want the family together, Mom added, and the word want already carried a price tag. I set a realistic budget: room fee, food per head, service, tax, tip, columns for contingencies, space for the inevitable extra guest. I put down a deposit, $8,600, more than I like seeing leave my account, but still within the spreadsheet. It stung. It also felt adult, and foolishly, I thought doing something big and generous might reset the story about me. It never does, I know that. I still try. After the tasting, Mom got chatty in the group text she uses like a megaphone. Dinner was fine, but we want something more upscale. Then came photos. A ballroom with ice swans. This is classy, she wrote. Tracy will find something like this. That ballroom starts at $350 a head before drinks. Overtime charges apply after 10. My family's favorite hour, when everyone's too tired to leave and too polite to say no. The deposit I'd paid would be non-refundable if I canceled within 14 days. We were on day 13. I called Mom. We already have a reservation, I said. We paid a deposit. Paid? She repeated, like the word was a stranger at the door. We haven't decided. I did, I said. It fits the budget. She laughed. Sweetie, budgets move. Dad got on speaker. Double the budget and maybe we'll come. Evan chimed in. I already got fitted for a tux, so don't mess around. I closed my eyes. Can we talk about who's paying? Silence. Tracy, Mom said softly, it's tacky to nickel and dime family events. What's tacky, I said, is acting like the card you're not holding is community property. There was a pause, then the voice she uses for the worst things. I'm worried about you. You hold money so tight, it's unhealthy. That night, I stared at my spreadsheet, then at the wall, then at the life I'd built. Quiet, steady, repetitive. I thought about last Christmas when I bought gifts for 9 people and got a travel mug in return. You love coffee, Mom said. I thought about the roof I repaired after a storm. Took you long enough, Dad said. The pattern isn't subtle. The bait is always the same. Love, pride, family. The hook is always the same. Money, time, compliance. And underneath it all is that sentence Mom uses when I hint at a boundary. Don't make this ugly. They make it ugly. I clean it up. Lying in bed, I did the math again. And then I felt it. A strange, steady calm. If I believed her, if I believed we were too good for the place I booked, then the honest thing would be to make sure she never had to lower her standards again. I set my alarm, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and slept. I woke before my alarm. That never happens. I'm a snooze button loyalist, the kind of person who bargains with herself for 9 extra minutes like they're a small mercy. But that morning, my eyes opened clear and calm, like something had already decided for me. I made coffee and watched the steam rise, thin and temporary. I didn't check my phone. I didn't replay the tasting in my head. I stood at the counter and let the quiet settle, heavy but honest. Then I picked up my phone and called the restaurant. The manager answered on the second ring. She remembered my name. Hi, I said. This is Tracy Beekman. I need to cancel the reservation for the 14th. There was a pause, not judgmental, just human. I understand, she said gently. Your deposit is partially refundable, up to 80% if we fill the date. We usually do. Thank you, I said. And then, because old habits die hard, I thanked her again. And again. When I hung up, my hands felt light, like I'd jumped off a low step and my knees hadn't caught up yet. I didn't draft a speech. I didn't rehearse an explanation. I wrote one message, short, clear, no emotional garnish. Morning, I canceled the reservation. If you want a different venue, you'll need to book and pay for it yourselves. I'll attend if it's within walking distance of my budget and my boundaries. I sent it at 8:04 a.m. to the family group chat. Then I got dressed for work. The phone started vibrating before I'd finished tying my shoes. Mom, Dad, Evan. Mom again. I let it ring. At my desk, the screen lit up like a warning sign. Mom, what did you do? Dad, this isn't how family behaves. Evan, Tracy, seriously? We already got tuxes. I replied once. Me, you're adults. You can book a party. There was a pause. That familiar, strategic silence where they decide which script to run. They chose guilt. Mom, I'm embarrassed. We told people. Dad, you're making your mother cry. Evan, this is petty. I typed, erased, then sent. Me, I canceled something I was paying for, that's all. At 9:30, my mom texted me privately. I don't know who you think you are. I stared at the sentence. It felt old, like it had been waiting years to come out. Someone who won't fund being insulted, I wrote back. I put my phone face down and opened my laptop. At noon, the receptionist buzzed me. Tracy, there's a woman here asking for you. I already knew. My mother stood in the lobby like she'd dressed for a role. Pearls, soft voice, concerned eyes. The version of herself she uses when she wants witnesses. This is beneath you, she said once we were alone, setting boundaries, humiliating us. I canceled something I was paying for, I said. That's not humiliation. You're punishing us. This isn't revenge, I said. My voice surprised me, steady even. It's closure for a lifetime of you deciding what I owe. She tried the pivot. We raised you better than this. You raised me to be reliable, I said, not invisible. Her mouth tightened. You're cold. I've been consistent. She stared at me like she was searching for the daughter she used to manage. We raised a selfish child. And I'm okay with you thinking that, I said. She left without another word. My chest felt lighter afterward, like a wall had been knocked down, and I was still getting used to the extra air. That night I made pasta, sat at my small table, chose the quiet. By morning, I had 27 missed calls and 41 texts. Dad, we moved the party to the Harbor Club. Mom, send the deposit. Evan, they need $12,000 by Friday. Me, no. Mom, this is spite. Me, it's a boundary. Mom, family is everything. Me, family is not a credit line. The restaurant manager called around noon. Good news. We filled your date. You'll get 80% back. Relief washed over me, slow and deep. The Harbor Club emailed their contract to everyone on the thread. I replied once, please remove my email. I'm not the payer. Evan messaged privately, just front it. I'll cover bar. What you're offering to cover, I wrote back, is the part you'll consume. He sent a laughing emoji. I didn't reply. Aunt Linda called that afternoon. Honey, your mom is hysterical. Maybe you could at least pay half, or the photographer, just so it doesn't look like she didn't finish. Maybe they can't pull it off, I said. There was a long pause. You sound different. I am. By Thursday, the story had spread. Extended family, neighbors. Even a woman from church who'd once commented on my posture messaged me to ask if it was true I'd abandoned my parents before a sacred milestone. I didn't answer. Every explanation turns into a trial, and my family loves a courtroom. Friday night, Evan called from an unknown number. This is insane, he said. They booked the Harbor Club. Dad freaked at the cost. They cut the bar packages. Mom cried. The planner walked. Okay, I said. Can you just... No, you're enjoying this. I'm not, I said. I'm just not fixing it. It's one night. It's a pattern. Saturday morning, the restaurant manager confirmed the refund again. I went to a small neighborhood place instead, ate good bread, watched a soccer match with strangers. It felt like a celebration. Later, Aunt Linda called. They moved it to the church hall. Potluck. Your mom says it's intimate by design. I'm glad, I said, and meant it. Sunday, Mom sent a photo. Her and Dad in front of a wrinkled gold backdrop, smiling. We made it work without you. I'm glad, I replied. People missed you. They can book time, I wrote back. The calls slowed after that. Life filled the space they left. Omelets, plants, trivia nights. Dinners where gratitude wasn't a weapon. I wasn't done with my family. I was done with this version of them. By Monday morning, my phone felt heavier just sitting on the table. Not because it was buzzing, because it wasn't. The silence had shifted. It wasn't calm anymore. It was strategic. That's when I knew the story had left the family chat. It started with a text from my cousin Dana, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, outside of weddings and funerals. Hey, is everything okay with your parents? Your mom sounded really upset. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, a neighbor I grew up with messaged me on social media. Heard there was some drama about the anniversary. Hope everyone's okay. Still nothing from me. By noon, the narrative had fully formed without my consent. I could tell by the phrasing alone. Abandoned, ungrateful, out of nowhere. So unlike her. The version of me being passed around was fascinating. Cold, abrupt, unrecognizable. A daughter who snapped. A woman who let money change her. Someone who punished her parents for wanting something nice. No one asked me what happened. They never do. That would complicate the story. At work, I kept my head down, answered emails, finished reports, took a walk on my lunch break, and reminded myself to breathe like a normal person. Every few steps, I felt the old reflex, the one that says, explain yourself before they decide who you are. I let it pass. That evening, my father called from my childhood number. The landline. A calculated move. I answered. This has gone too far, he said without greeting. People are talking. I'm aware. Your mother is humiliated. She's been humiliating me for years, I said gently. This is just the first time I didn't absorb it. You could have handled this privately. I tried, I said. You told me to double the budget. Silence, then the sound of him exhaling, slow and theatrical. You've always had a temper, he said. We worried about this. I almost laughed. My temper, the one I buried under spreadsheets and favors and swallowed words. I'm not angry, I said. I'm finished. He hung up on me. That night, my Aunt Carol showed up at my apartment unannounced. She stood in the hallway, clutching her purse like a prop. I'm not here to take sides, she said immediately. She always says that. Then she takes one. Your mother is beside herself, she continued. 35 years, Tracy. People expect things. People can adjust, I said. She thinks you did this to embarrass her. I didn't do it to her, I said. I did it for me. Carol frowned, like I'd spoken in a language she didn't approve of. Families make sacrifices. I've been the sacrifice, I said, quietly. She sighed. You're very intense right now. I smiled, small and tired. I'm actually the calmest I've ever been. She left shortly after, unconvinced. The following days revealed what happens when a family loses its fixer. The Harbor Club demanded a larger deposit up front. The caterer refused to negotiate. The photographer wanted payment in full before confirming. Each obstacle that would have landed gently on my shoulders now dropped squarely into my parents' laps. They weren't used to friction, Evan called, frantic. Dad's losing it. They want to downgrade the menu. Mom says that makes them look cheap. I didn't comment. They're arguing about centerpieces, he added. Like, actually arguing. I believe it. Can you just step in and talk to them? No. You're really doing this. I really am. The planner quit 2 days later. On Wednesday, my mother sent a group message thick with forced cheer. Update, we've decided to go with something more intimate. Church hall, family style, very us. I imagined her typing it, jaw tight, convincing herself as she went. Evan texted me privately. You happy now? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I'm peaceful. That seemed to anger him more than any argument could have. The smear campaign intensified as the plans unraveled. People stopped asking if it was true and started telling me what they believed. Your parents did so much for you. You only get one family. Money isn't worth this. I muted threads, archived messages, let the noise exist without me. Saturday arrived quietly. I didn't attend the anniversary. Instead, I woke early, walked to the farmer's market, bought fresh bread and tomatoes and flowers I didn't need. I cleaned my apartment slowly, not to distract myself, but because I wanted the space to feel intentional. Around noon, a message popped up from the restaurant manager. Just confirming, your refund was processed. 80% will hit your account today. I sat on the floor and let myself feel the relief fully this time, not just the money, what it represented. Proof that when I stepped back, the world didn't collapse. It simply rearranged. That evening, Dana called again. They moved it to the church hall, she said, whispering like it was a scandal. Your mom told everyone it was a conscious choice. Minimalist. Good, I said. You're really not going? No, she hesitated. They keep saying they don't understand what they did. I closed my eyes. They understand. They just don't agree. After the party, my mother sent one photo. Her and my dad, smiling stiffly under fluorescent lights, a wrinkled gold banner behind them. We made it work without you. I stared at the image. The proof she wanted. The performance intact. I'm glad, I replied. A few minutes later, people missed you. They can book time, I wrote back. That was the last message we exchanged that week. On Sunday, I watered my plants, cooked a real breakfast, and sat by the window with my coffee. For the first time in years, my calendar was empty. Not because I was excluded, but because I had chosen myself. I wasn't triumphant. I wasn't bitter. I was learning something new and fragile, that peace doesn't announce itself. It just shows up when you stop negotiating your worth. The quiet didn't mean forgiveness. It meant regrouping. I felt it the following week, not as noise, but as pressure returning in smaller, more calculated ways. A cousin liking an old photo of me on social media, an aunt forwarding a church flyer with "thinking of you" typed underneath. My mother's friend sending a message that wasn't cruel, just pointed. Your parents sacrificed so much. I hope you remember that. I did remember. I remembered being 11, folding laundry while my brother played video games because he's had a long day. I remembered paying my own application fees while Evan's were called investments. I remembered being praised for being low maintenance, which I eventually learned was not a compliment. It was a relief. My parents didn't stop talking about me. They just stopped talking to me. That's how I knew the smear had entered its second phase, the reasonable one. The one where they stopped sounding hurt and started sounding confused. We don't know what happened. She just changed. We're worried about her. Concern is a powerful disguise. My father emailed me for the first time in years. Not a text, an email. Long, measured, professional. Tracy, your mother and I have been thinking a lot. Families go through phases. We hope you'll reconsider the distance you're creating. Life is short, and grudges don't serve anyone. He signed it love, Dad. No apology, no accountability, just a gentle request that I resume my post. I didn't reply. That night, Evan showed up at my door. He looked smaller without the audience, less sure. He leaned against the hallway wall like he used to when he wanted something but didn't want to ask directly. You really blew things up, he said. I stepped back, I corrected. Same thing, he said. Mom hasn't been sleeping, Dad's embarrassed, people keep asking questions. Questions you can answer, I said. He scoffed. You always do this. Act like you're above it. I'm not above it, I said. I'm done with it. He crossed his arms. You could have just paid and moved on. I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized something I hadn't before. He didn't see my money as mine. He saw it as available. That's the difference between us, I said. You move on because you don't pay. He went quiet. You think you're teaching us a lesson, he said finally. I'm teaching myself one, I replied. He left without another word. After that, things shifted faster. My parents stopped asking when I'd come by and started telling people I was taking space. Invitations slowed. Obligations evaporated. The family system, deprived of its financial shock absorber, began to creak and adjust. They found new volunteers. My aunt covered a catering shortfall. A cousin handled setup. Someone else paid for flowers. No one did it as smoothly. No one did it without resentment. That wasn't my fault. A month later, my refund hit my account in full. I stared at the number longer than I expected to. Not because I needed the money, but because it felt like proof. Evidence that I hadn't imagined the cost. That my generosity had always been measurable, even if my worth hadn't been. I used part of it to book a short trip. Nothing extravagant. Just a few days somewhere quiet, where no one knew my role. On the second morning, sitting alone at a cafe, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Your father and I have been talking. We think it's best if we give you space for now. I smiled, soft and sad. I agree, I typed back. There was no reply. That was the moment I understood something I'd spent years avoiding. Boundaries don't always bring people closer. Sometimes they reveal how close you actually were. I didn't lose my family. I lost my position, and that position had been costing me everything. The silence didn't end suddenly. It thinned, like fog lifting, not all at once, but in patches that let the light in whether you're ready or not. Weeks passed, then a month, then another. The family group chat stayed quiet, except for the occasional holiday gif from a cousin who didn't know where to aim their loyalty anymore. My parents didn't call. Evan didn't text. No one asked me to fix anything. At first, the absence felt wrong, like I'd forgotten something important. A bill unpaid, a promise broken. I'd reach for my phone out of habit, then remember there was no fire to put out. That was the strangest part. Nothing was burning. Without the constant pull of obligation, my life began to widen in small, unremarkable ways. I cooked meals that took longer than 20 minutes. I joined a trivia night at the bar down the street and learned the names of strangers who didn't expect anything from me except a decent answer and a laugh. I let my plants grow wild instead of trimming them into shapes someone else preferred. I slept better, not perfectly, but honestly. One afternoon, While reorganizing my kitchen, I found the old envelope where I'd kept the anniversary spreadsheet. I hadn't thrown it away. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof that it had all been real. I opened it. Columns, numbers, notes in the margins. Extra guests likely. Overtime charges expected. Be flexible. I laughed out loud. Not bitterly, not angrily. Just clearly. I tore the pages in half and dropped them in the trash. The call from my father came 3 weeks later. "Hi, Tracy," he said, like we'd spoken yesterday. "Your mother's birthday is coming up." I waited. "We were thinking something small this year," he continued. "Dinner, family." "And?" I asked. There was a pause. I could almost hear him weighing his words. "We thought you might want to come." I closed my eyes. "I might," I said. "Where?" He named a restaurant. Modest, reasonable. "And who's paying?" I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. "We are," he said. "Okay," I replied. "Then I'll see how I feel." He exhaled, relieved. "That's fair." After we hung up, I sat with the feeling. The old me would have jumped, offered to book, to coordinate, to cover dessert. The new me stayed still. I went. I showed up on time, brought a card, paid for my own drink. When my mother hugged me, it was tentative, careful. She didn't adjust my collar. She didn't comment on the place. She didn't ask me to fix anything. The dinner was fine. Not warm, not cruel, just fine. At the end, she said, "Thank you for coming." "You're welcome," I said, and meant it. On the walk home, I realized something else. This wasn't reconciliation. It was a renegotiation, and I was finally allowed to leave the table whenever I wanted. I still love my family. I just don't subsidize them. I don't absorb their discomfort. I don't translate their wants into my obligations. I don't clean up messes that aren't mine. The account is closed. And for the first time in my life, the quiet isn't lonely. It's mine.